Hi friends, this is Tracy from the Sewing Channel. Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. This just might be the most unique gift I've ever made for anyone. I think this would be a perfect gift for a younger person. Imagine their favorite character up on their wall in their bedroom with their name right on their wall. Too cute. Click the link in the top right hand corner if you would like to learn how to make some more personalized sewing gifts. Enough talking already. Let's get busy making some fabric letters. These name pillow wall hangings, they are absolutely darling. Grab a couple sheets of your printer paper and tape two of them together landscape style. I chose to do my letters in a block type format because it was the easiest. Since I had to do these freehand, the one tip I can give you is make sure that they're the same height and the same width. Here I'm just going to show you some reference measurements of one of my letters. Once you're happy with your letter cutout templates, it's time to choose some fabric that you're going to use. The one I chose was VeggieTales because my granddaughter Josephine absolutely goes nuts over VeggieTales. So it was a real fun one to make for her. Lay the front part of your fabric, the one that's going to be seen when it's on the wall, right side up, and lay your letters out on the fabric. Now you may need to fussy cut some parts like I did. There were certain characters that I wanted to make sure that I got in the letter, so I made sure that that was underneath the letter before I traced it and cut it. For the back of my letters, I chose to do a coordinating fabric in all different color fabrics that matched the front. My VeggieTale fabric was a little pricey, so I'm glad I did that because it would have been a waste. Nobody's really going to see the back. Each letter will have a back and a front piece of fabric. To soften up these harsh corners on the letters, I rounded them out. Now I didn't round out the inside area right there on any of my letters. It was only mainly the outside areas, and I got a lid from my kitchen and I just drew some curved lines along all of those harsh squared edges and then cut them out. Check out my new rotary cutter. The day that I filmed this, I received it in the mail, so I was just trying to get the hang of it, and I'll talk more about that in a different video. This is what you should have so far: two pieces of letters, a front and a back. I'm also making fabric hangers for each one of my letters, so I'm going to need a 2-inch strip piece of matching fabric of the back fabric. And however wide your letter is, that's going to be your other measurement. So I believe mine was like 3.5 inches by 2 inches. So with that 2-inch part, you're going to fold up to the middle, fold the other side to the middle, and then fold them together, iron it, and put a top stitch right down the side there. And this is what it looks like after you have put your stitch in there. Everything is nice and together. I placed my hanger about 1/3 down from the top of that letter. In the seam allowance only, you're going to stitch and tack that down on the side so we don't have to fuss with it if it moves or whatever. After you've stitched the hanger on the back only, you're going to take your front piece and put right sides together, the front and the back now. Pop a few pins in, and then you're going to do a 1/4 inch seam allowance stitch all the way around the letter, leaving about a 3-inch space right there. And you see I put my pin in the opposite direction, so I know to stop there. And just take your time as you go around the curves. It's not a race, because you could get off track if you try to go too fast around these curves. When you get to the end where that pin was in the opposite direction, where you know you have to leave the space open, you're going to back stitch right before you end, and that way things won't stretch and get out of whack when we go to stuff it. After everything's sewn down, go ahead and turn everything right side out, and be sure to press your project at this point. I don't show that on camera, but I do press mine, and I also press that seam allowance that's actually open. I press that as well, so it makes a nice crease right there. I stuff my letters with polyfill, and it seems to be the best. So you just grab a handful and start stuffing your letter. The best tip that I can give you here is make sure you're consistent with your polyfill, not only in all of your letters, but within the letter itself. You don't want big clumps in some areas and then nothing in another. So you really want to feel that out before you close things up. Now, I didn't use the rubber coated gardening wire in the J. I was checking it there to see if it was too floppy. But I do use this rubber coated gardening wire in the S and in the E because it seemed to be a little flimsy and floppy. I don't know if it was because my letters were sort of skinny, but I'm going to show you how I did the E. I cut the length of wire I needed, and then I bent the ends down and put electrical tape over that. And during the stuffing stage, that's when I stuffed the wire inside of any of the letters if they needed it. And it's kind of neat because it does end up making them posable, and it works really well. Now, if your letters are fine, no worries, you don't need to use the wire. But like I said, the E and the S, I definitely needed it. Now let me show you how I troubleshot the letter O. Trust me on this one, you'll want to watch it if you're doing an O. You see, there's no way to sew these right sides together and leave one tiny opening somewhere because you just can't turn it right side out. It doesn't work. So this is how I did it. First, put the right sides together of the letter O and sew all the way around the entire outside of the letter O. Next, turn your letter O right side out, and you see right there I folded in all of those raw edges about 1/4 inch and I pressed them down. It's tedious, but it works. After the inside is all stitched down with a top stitch, you leave a tiny opening for the stuffing part. And then you're just going to go ahead and stuff it just like you did any of the other letters. Hopefully I've covered all of the tricky parts and the things that I had to troubleshoot. Now once you get all of your letters stuffed and you have a tiny opening left, you're going to just hand stitch everything closed. I hate hand stitching, but sometimes you just gotta do it. You'll just want to make sure that it's sort of invisible on the side there. I mean, nobody's really going to see it because it's going to be up on a wall. And that's what I kept telling myself because my hand stitching is like atrocious. But oh well, what are you going to do? So check it out. It is absolutely darling. I'm so happy with the way it turned out. I really am. And since this is a Christmas gift for my Josie, I don't want to give it to her now, although I'm very, very tempted to. I'll wait until Christmas. Be sure to let me know down in the comments what you think of my fabric letters. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.